Section 1. The trap is set 1,700 words. The Bank of America Premium Branch on 5th Avenue did not look like a bank. It looked like the lobby of a palace that had decided money was the only god worth worshipping. White. Italian marble reflected the cold glow of 3 crystal chandeliers the size of small cars. The air was refrigerated to a precise 68.2 degrees. The temperature at which cashmere blazers never wrinkled in human warmth was politely discouraged. Security guards in charcoal Brioni suits stood like statues, beside velvet ropes that separated the merely rich from the truly untouchable. A single abstract painting on the far wall, a swirl of gold leaf on black canvas, was insured for $29 million. No one ever looked at it. At 3:17 p.m. on a Tuesday that smelled faintly of oud and entitlement, the cathedral doors opened and a 9-year-old black girl walked in alone. Lanna. Dorothy Jackson wore a plain white t-shirt with a tiny hole at the hem, jeans faded almost gray, and purple sneakers whose soles were peeling away like old paint. A transparent plastic folder, the kind sold for 19 cents at the 99 store, was clutched in both her small hands. She crossed the vast floor with the measured steps of someone who had memorized the route from a hand-drawn map. Every polished loafer in the room tracked her progress. Some glances were curious. Most were already contemptuous. She stopped at the VIP counter, black marble, veined with gold, and placed the folder down as gently as if it were made of blown glass. "I just want to check my balance," she said. The words were soft, perfectly calm, and yet they cut through the low murmur of hedge fund gossip like a thrown knife. Charles Whitman III. 46 years old, 3rd generation, private equity royalty, wearer of a Patek Philippe that cost more than most people's houses, stopped typing on his rose-gold MacBook. He lowered his tortoiseshell reading glasses a fraction and stared at the child, the way one might stare at a pigeon that had wandered into La Bernardine. Madison Whitman. His wife, blonde and Botoxed into permanent mild surprise, leaned toward him with the delighted cruelty of a woman who collected microaggressions the way others collected Hermes bags. "Did you hear that, darling?" She stage whispered, loud enough for the entire lounge to hear. "The little girl wants to see the balance. She probably thinks this is the check-cashing place on 125th. A ripple of soft, poisonous laughter spread outward. Phones angled discreetly. Someone started a new group chat titled, "Guess Who Crashed Premium Hour?" Behind the counter, Mr. Reginald Patterson, branch manager for 12 years, glided forward. His smile was wide, symmetrical, and completely devoid of warmth. "Sweetheart." "Gah." He began crouching just enough to appear avuncular while still looming. "This is the premium private client floor. Children must be accompanied by a parent or guardian. The regular branch, perfectly nice, I assure you, is across the street on the corner." "I'm sure that's where you meant to go." He gestured vaguely toward the revolving doors as though directing traffic. "I'm not lost," Lanna replied. Her voice never rose, never wavered. "My grandmother told me to come here today, to this exact counter." Charles snapped his laptop shut with a sound like a guillotine. "Your grandmother?" he asked, drawing the words out like taffy. He stood, 6'2", of inherited arrogance in a bespoke navy suit. "And what might her name be? Princess?" "Let me guess, Latoya." "Shanice? Maybe she's the woman who scrubs our toilets on the weekend." The laughter was louder this time, edged with genuine delight. A hedge fund wife in 6-inch Louboutins actually clapped. "Or," Charles continued, warming to an audience, "maybe she works in the kitchen at the hospital where Madison gets her fillers. You know, the one with the good fried chicken?" Madison touched her cheek in theatrical horror, while her eyes sparkled like champagne. "Charles, be kind," she cooed. The poor thing clearly wandered into the wrong zip code. Lanna did not blink. She simply looked up and met Charles's gaze with eyes that held neither tears nor fear, only a calm so complete it felt ancient. "Her name," she said, enunciating every syllable, "is Dorothy Jackson. And she told me some people in this room would remember it very well." The temperature seemed to drop another degree. Though the thermostat had not moved, Mr. Patterson's manicured fingers froze above his keyboard. Something in the name tugged at a memory he couldn't quite place, like a splinter under the skin. Charles rolled his eyes theatrically. "Patterson," humored the child. "Type in the magic name and let's end this performance." "I have a 9-figure term sheet closing in 20 minutes. Patterson typed. DOROTHY. Jayasukasoen. He hit enter. The screen refreshed. He stared. He typed again. Slower this time, as though the letters might rearrange themselves. If handled with care, his face went the color of printer paper. He closed the window. Opened it again. Closed it. His mouth opened, but no sound emerged. Charles drummed his fingers on the marble. "Well, are we funding her college fund? Or can I get back to making actual money?" Patterson did not answer. He seemed to be having a private conversation with God. Madison leaned over the counter. Perfume assaulting the air like chemical warfare. "Honey, why don't you call your grandmother? She must be frantic." "My grandmother died last week," Lanna said, still perfectly level. "But she taught me that some people only learn when the lesson hurts." The laughter died mid-dash note. Charles cleared his throat, suddenly aware that mocking a grieving orphan might not photograph well in certain circles. "My condolences," he managed, the word tasting like spoiled caviar. "Still, this is a private banking facility." Lanna opened her plastic folder with deliberate care and removed a single envelope. It was thick, cream-colored stock, yellowed at the edges, sealed with actual red wax. An elegant old-fashioned handwriting across the front, to be opened only in the presence of the senior manager. Bank of America Premium. Fifth Avenue branch. DJ Patterson stared at the envelope as though it might bite him. Charles reached for it. "Give me that." Lanna pulled it back so fast the motion blurred. "It's not addressed to you," she said. "It's addressed to the person who actually runs this bank." The insult landed like a slap across his patrician cheek. Charles flushed crimson before he could explode. The crowd parted as though an invisible Moses had appeared. A woman strode forward in a charcoal pantsuit sharp enough to slice bread. Late 50s, regal carriage, skin like polished mahogany, hair twisted into a flawless chignon. The nameplate on her lapel read Victoria Thompson, Regional Director. Private Wealth Division. Every employee in the branch straightened as if electrified. "Mr. Patterson," she said, voice slicing through the tension like a scalpel. "I received an automated legacy account alert tied to a deceased client. I trust protocol is being followed." Patterson looked as though Christmas had arrived early. Finally, someone paid more than him to deal with the nightmare. Then Lanna smiled. A real smile, small and warm and devastating. "Hi, Auntie Vicky," she said softly. Victoria Thompson froze mid-stride. Recognition crashed across her face like sunrise over water. "Lanna." She breathed. "My God, you're Dorothy's spitting image at 9 years old." Charles and Madison exchanged baffled glances. "Auntie Vicky." Victoria took the yellowed envelope with hands that trembled only slightly. She broke the wax seal, unfolded the heavy paper inside, and began to read, line by line. Her eyes widened. "Patterson," she said without looking up, cleared the executive conference room. "Call legal, call security, and evacuate the public floor now." Charles tried for a laugh. It came out strangled. "Victoria, come on." "You're not seriously?" Victoria lifted one manicured finger. Charles's mouth snapped shut as if she had pressed mute. She finally met his eyes, and the temperature in the room plummeted another 5 degrees. "Mr. Whitman," she said with Arctic formality, "I suggest you stop talking. Immediately." And she turned to the silent, watching crowd of millionaires clutching their Birkins and their prejudice. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced to the room, "anyone still here in 60 seconds will be permanently banned from every premium branch on the Eastern Seaboard, starting now." The stampede was immediate and undignified. Italian leather soles squealed against marble. A Rolex Daytona clattered to the floor, abandoned. In 43 seconds, the lobby was nearly empty. Echoing like a tomb, only the Whitmans remained, rooted to the spot. Along with a pale Patterson and the small girl who suddenly seemed to occupy all available space, Victoria placed a gentle hand on Lanna's shoulder. "Come with me." "Baby," she said, as they walked toward the private elevator. Lanna glanced back once at Charles Whitman III. The look lasted less than a second, but it contained an entire future. The trap had sprung perfectly, and the jaws were still closing. The executive conference room on the 42nd floor was designed to make grown men feel small, dark. Oak walls absorbed light. A single slab of black Zimbabwe granite served as the table. 12 black leather chairs, each costing more than a used Mercedes, faced a wall of smoked glass that looked down on Fifth Avenue like a god judging ants. The air smelled faintly of cedar and fear. Lanna Jackson sat at the head of the table, purple sneakers dangling 8 inches above the carpet. She looked 12 inches tall and 12 centuries old. To her right, Victoria Thompson, regional director, arms folded, face carved from onyx. To her left, Marcus Henderson, lead counsel for the Jackson Family Trust. 6'5" of quiet menace in a midnight blue suit. A slim leather briefcase lay open in front of him like a loaded weapon. Charles and Madison Whitman were escorted, and last by 2 security officers who looked as if they ate nails for breakfast. The door sealed behind them with a soft, expensive click that sounded exactly like a coffin lid. Charles attempted his boardroom smile warm, disarming the one that had closed 11-figure deals. It collapsed the moment he saw the stack of documents waiting in front of the child. "Please sit," Lanna said, polite as a funeral director. They sat. Marcus clicked open a Mont-Blanc pen the way other men chamber around. "Mr. Whitman." "Mrs. Whitman," he began, voice smooth as single malt. "We have 3 items on today's agenda. First, the complete audio and video recording Miss Jackson captured in the lobby." He placed a small matte black recorder in the center of the granite. "Public commercial space, one-party consent jurisdiction. Perfectly admissible." Charles opened his mouth. Marcus raised one finger. Charles closed his mouth. "Second," Marcus continued, a brief review of selected quotations. He opened a bound transcript and read without inflection. Quote, "Maybe she's our cleaning lady." Quote, or, "The lady who works in the kitchen at the hospital where my wife has her plastic surgeries." Quote, "This place is for people who really understand serious finance, not for gesture toward a 9-year-old child." Each word landed like a gavel. Madison's voice cracked. "Ow, we didn't know who she was." Marcus slid an 8-bite and glossy across the table. "Madison at a charity gala 3 weeks earlier, beaming beneath a 10-foot banner that read Jackson Holdings Transforming Communities. Her own Instagram caption beneath the photo, so inspiring to see what Jackson Holdings is doing. Hashtag Black Excellence, hashtag grateful." Madison's manicured nails dug crescents into her palms. Marcus wasn't finished. He produced a second folder email threads between Whitman Capital Partners and various Jackson entities, contracts totaling 42% of Whitman's annual revenue. Charles's own digital signature glowed in blue at the bottom of every page. "You've been taking our money for 6 years, Lanna said quietly, while laughing at children who look like me. Victoria tapped a key. The wall screen woke. Account summary: Trust of Dorothy Marie Jackson, sole beneficiary and executor, Lanna Dorothy Jackson. Age 9, current balance, USD $1,872,440,117.41. Voting control, 100% Jackson Holdings Class A shares minority stakes. 5.1% Whitman Capital Partners activist block. Charles made a small wounded sound. Marcus continued, almost kindly. Every contract you signed with any Jackson entity contains Clause 15.3. Immediate termination without penalty for discriminatory conduct toward representatives of the company or their families. Your statements in the lobby qualify. All contracts terminated at 15:39 today. Outstanding invoices, approximately $18.4 million, are hereby forfeited. Madison began to cry in perfect diamond tears that ruined $1,200 of makeup. Charles found his voice. You're a child. You can't possibly. I can, Lanna cut in. Grandmother's trust was drafted by 5 law firms and approved by the surrogate's court. I have plenary authority until age 25, subject only to trustee consent. She glanced at Victoria and Marcus. Consent was granted at 1541. Victoria gave a single, regal nod. Charles switched tactics, voice softening into the tone he used on nervous limited partners. Lanna, sweetheart. I spoke without thinking. I'm truly sorry. Name your price, public apology, donation, scholarship fund, anything. Let me make this right. Lanna regarded him for a long measuring moment. My grandmother started as a night cleaner, she said. White men in suits exactly like yours would leave Kentucky Fried chicken boxes on the carpet just to watch her bend over and pick them up. She kept every box, had them bronzed. They're in a glass case in her study right now. She leaned forward, small elbows on the granite. You wanted to teach me my place? Congratulations, you just did it in front of 8 4K cameras hidden in the lobby chandeliers. Charles's head snapped toward the ceiling. Tiny red lights blinked back like malevolent stars. Live streamed to the Jackson Holdings secure server, Marcus confirmed. Timestamped, encrypted, already mirrored to the ACLU, NAACP Legal Defense Fund, and 3 major networks. Madison sobbed louder. Lanna stood on her chair so her eyes were level with Charles's. You asked for a second chance? She said. Second chances are for people who didn't mean it the first time. You meant every word. She stepped down. Grandma said the best revenge isn't living well. It's making sure the people who tried to stop you from living well never forget the day they lost. Victoria rose. Security will escort you to the street. Your personal effects from the private suites will be couriered tomorrow. Your names are now persona non grata at every Bank of America premium branch in the continental United States. 2 officers stepped forward. At the door, Charles turned back, voice cracking.
Lanna, please.
She was already gathering her papers into the 19-cent folder. My grandmother died believing the world could change, she said without looking up. She left me the tools to change it one consequence at a time. The door closed. Silence fell, thick and sudden. Only then did Lanna's shoulders sag a fraction. Victoria knelt, opened her arms. The 9-year-old walked into them and finally let herself be held. Face buried in expensive wool that smelled of cocoa butter and power. It's okay, baby, Victoria whispered, rocking her gently. Dorothy saw everything today. She's dancing right now. Lanna's voice came muffled. I didn't like being mean. You weren't mean, Victoria said fiercely. We're just as wearing sneakers. There's a difference. Lanna pulled back, wiped her eyes with the heel of her hand, and the steel slid back into place. Grandma left the list, she said. 6 more banks, 4 country clubs, 2 charity boards. Marcus closed his briefcase with a soft, lethal snap. Victoria smiled like a wolf who had just discovered the sheep kept the keys to the slaughterhouse. Then let's go teach lesson number 2. By 6 p.m., the first clip hit Twitter. By 7 p.m., #CleaningLadyHeir was the #1 trending topic worldwide. By 8 p.m., Whitman. Capital Partners stock was down 29% in after-hours trading. And in a quiet cemetery on the edge of the city, 37 bronze Kentucky Fried Chicken boxes caught the last rays of the setting sun silent. Gleaming witnesses to a promise kept. The little girl in the purple. Sneakers had just redrawn the map of who belonged at the top. And somewhere, Dorothy Jackson was laughing.